Yeah, for the plan to come together, right?
For the plan to come together, it required that God harden Pharaoh. So for the very first time, I was introduced to the idea that Pharaoh may not have been the hard-hearted person we thought he was, and he needed Pharaoh to do his part. I think that's interesting. We also talked about a little bit about Joseph and the brothers who had a will and intention for their little brother, and look how that turned out.
Right.
They're begging him for food. He's so high up in the Egyptian world that it is this younger brother, this kid they couldn't stand at one point, who is in a position, and he, a lot of times it's Joseph is looked as this Jesus story, and he's another type of a Jesus, and it is he who saves his family from famine that they find themselves in. And you read that story, and it's amazing. You now see how God is moving all the circumstances. They think they're doing it, and they have a plan and an idea, but God is just taking it along exactly how he wants it carried out. And of course, you and I find that incredibly peaceful.
Well, it is peaceful and comforting because we believe God is ultimately love. He is love. He's a God of love, and we've come to believe that, and so of course all these things are going to work out according to His plan. We can't see that sometimes. We're so our view is so small sometimes, so it can get very confusing. We think like we're it, this human race, we're it. So, but there's such a bigger plan going on. So of course, to believe though and know that He's a God ultimately of love that's going to work all these things out. We find great peace in that. I like the idea that freedom, the ignorance part, because I've come to believe that too. And in my own life, there's no feelings. There might have been in the past, but no longer do I have any feelings. I mean, if anything, I'm crying out for God's force on my life. Please force my steps. Direct me, please. No,
exactly.
Not a thing of, that makes me a robot. I mean, I'm ignorant to His force so many times. I'm ignorant to that.
Right. Those moments.
That's the one you think I feel free. I guess my point would be, if you are struggling with that, the sovereignty of God, it's completely freed us up. We make choices all the time. We're free to do whatever we want, we say. What does it make us want to do? We've been talking about Scripture for the last 2 hours.
Right.
And learning more about this great God of love. I mean, so it frees you up to make choices and do things.
Those moments when you and I have talked about where we're ravenous, we're reading everything we get our hands on, and then this great, this Paul period or something. Paul, not the person, pause, like.
Pause, right.
All of a sudden, I'm not so much interested in it.
Yeah.
It's died down,
Right.
And I'm learning sometimes in those, there's this other thing that's coming. There's another realization that's coming. And for some reason, this was necessary for me to be still. Even though I'm sort of looking at it like I'm not doing what I should be doing.
Right.
I'm still resurrecting some of those old Christian ideas that I need to,
Right.
And I'm finding what I think I'm somehow operating independently over here. And now I'm thinking, no, He had me there for a reason. And there was this thing that was down the road that was illuminated so much more by what I was coming out of. I had the privilege of talking to a young man this morning, 30-year-old young man to me, and sharing with him. His name's Tyler, and
he's kind of special to me. But
go
ahead.
He kind of likes him. But what was neat to listen, he was kind of eavesdropping on our conversation. He was moving around doing some different things, but he was listening to us. And he shared with us something that I thought, wow, it took me a whole lot longer to hear that, to understand that. And he talked about in his life, he saw his life as this roadway, okay? And he's moving right and left, moving forward, but he's straying off the path here, straying off the path there. He sees it in his mind as straying away. Then he corrects himself. And he says, not so much straying, but I'm going this way and that way, and some of those things lead to light, and some of those things lead to darkness. And then he says, and then I figured out that they were all blessings. They were all a teaching. And he had an appreciation for even the darkness because of what the darkness taught him, and that he always learned something. And I was blown away thinking that at 30, we were in totally different. I was a young father, working constantly, a husband and father. This young man's not in that place right now. But I was blown away by the knowledge and what he has experienced, how he's been nudged and pushed along in his circumstances. And for a young person of 30 to be grateful and to recognize that he needed that dark period to have this light period. It again is that contrast that God uses so beautifully. You know, when you show a diamond to someone, you always put it on a black velvet background. Why do you do that? It makes the diamond pop because of the contrast of the black behind it. So I got a 30-year-old man telling me he could appreciate the darkness.
Yep.
Because of the contrast to the light. So I thought that was really cool, and it was a privilege to talk to him this morning, and I appreciate what he shared with me. Another thing I wanted to read out of A. Enoch's chapter on God's will and intention was this part here. The highest expression of God's wisdom lies in his ability to transform every effort against him into that which is not only favorable to his plans, but essential to his purpose. We always talk about how Enoch uses 3 sentences and he packs so much in it.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, I'm just going to veg on that for about a half hour.
This is a huge book, a huge volume of information. Yeah, one sentence.
Oh my gosh, it's quickly turning into a favorite of mine. The only thing, I want to shut up for a second and let you share. But there is one thing here at the end I'd like to share again before we wrap this up. The last thing I wanted to talk about on this thing, Enoch ties this up in this chapter. And like I said, I've read it 3 times right now. But the last thing he says, and I wanted to share with you guys, was above all, then we will reveal the discovery of a real God, a conception almost unknown today. Not a magnified man, defeated and desperate amidst the ruins of his creation, but a deity infinite in power, sublime in wisdom, limitless in his affections, who is operating all in accord with the counsel of his will, in order to reveal himself to our hearts as light, life, and love.
That's big.
It's
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, and that is why. That's why we get together.
I know.
Once a week.
I know.
Because these things are so powerful, and they are nudging us along.
Oh yeah. And what's to come, like we've said before, the best is yet to come. We know that, love that, and cannot wait for those things. In the meantime, we're trusting that we're part of this grand plan, and you are too.
Yep.
We know you are. We want to encourage you with that. Look at these stories, and know that you're written in the story too.
That's right.
You're written in this story.
Your days are recorded in the scroll.
Yeah, you're in there.
Yep.
Your story is not ever going to be forgotten, and it's some grand design that's going to pay dividends here in the future.
And for many of you, your stories and our stories have come together, and we're sharing with you, and we get comments from you. We had some great comments. I loved Paul's video that he shared with us. In our comment section was a fantastic, about a minute, less than 2 minutes video. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I think
Thank you for that. I watched it too. It's awesome.
Dean wants to share that maybe.
I do. I was at work. I pulled it up, clicked on it, and I had to kind of catch myself. You know, I was starting to tear up watching that video.
It was really good. I had an opportunity to talk to Catherine from Australia.
And we're going to get with you soon, Catherine.
In an email, I was so grateful for her writing to me. She's a wonderful lady. I love her sharing on her YouTube channel. And you're going to also maybe share the 3 shows from our brother Clyde about Judas.
Sure.
Which are tremendous.
Sure.
They're really worth watching. So I want to tell all of you that we love you very much, and we wish you well, and I hope you have a great week. And we'll see you soon here again.
Love y'all.
Take care.